The Association of Retired Career Ambassadors of Nigeria wants the government to establish a Foreign Service Commission in order to strengthen the country's foreign policy.
And this call was made at the launch of the maiden edition of the Foreign Policy Journal in Abuja. Moyo Thomas was there.
When America comes to Africa, it comes for America's interests. When China comes to Africa, it comes for China's interests. When UK comes to Africa, it comes for the UK interests, and therefore Africa must stand for the interests of Africa.
Nigeria's foreign policy pre-independence to the 1970s was focused on the decolonization of Africa. This effort earned Nigeria the title Giant of Africa. Unfortunately, other African countries like Rwanda, Ethiopia, Egypt, and South Africa have made strides and have caught up and even overtaken Nigeria.
We have spoken.
The Emir of Kano, whose father was a career ambassador, believes Nigeria needs a foreign policy that will protect her from predators who use her to dump their goods. He is optimistic Nigeria can reposition herself by clearly defining her policies.
Nigeria is 70% of the population of West Africa. If we have an industrial policy that is aimed at protecting the productive sector of Nigeria against unfair competition, we cannot allow our neighbors to open their doors to this unfair competition and through the back door undermine our industry.
The governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, also reiterated the importance of having a foreign policy that is agile.
In terms of trade and commerce, professionalize the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, undertake an institutional audit of its think tank, the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, review the role of the National Intelligence Agency vis-a-vis.
The call for an establishment of a Foreign Service Commission is to ensure Nigeria is represented by people that have been trained adequately.
A committee was set up, and that review committee reviewed our foreign policy, but also reviewed processes of implementing foreign policy decisions. That committee had as one of its very first proposal a separation of the Home Service from the Foreign Service.
It's meant specifically for the Foreign Service. It will be a different institution from the existing Federal Civil Service Commission. Because you see, the Foreign Service is different in so many ways. The job content, the recruitment, all these are totally different from what you have in the Home Civil Service.
The presentation of this journal has further buttressed that there is more work to be done on Nigerians' foreign policy in order to get Nigeria back to that position of being the giant of Africa.
Well, Moyo Thomas joins us on the news now for more on this. Moyo, help us better understand this call for establishment of Foreign Service Commission in Nigeria.
According to the chairman of the retired ambassadors, career ambassadors, he said the call didn't just start now. The call has been on for many years for the establishment of the Foreign Civil Service Commission. Foreign Service Commission, and he says the reasons for this is because of the nature of work of ambassadors, foreign service people is totally different from home service, so they need specialized training, which the civil service would offer them the opportunity to get.
One of the statements by the Emir of Kano there is that he believes that Nigeria needs a foreign policy that will protect her from who he calls predators who use Nigeria to dump their goods. What actually does he mean by the statement?
Okay, he referred back to the period where Nigeria had not signed the African trade bill, and he said he was one of the people, the proponents of Nigeria signing. He wanted Nigeria to sign, and then on the issue of the land borders that were closed, he was in support of the government. That some people could see this as contradictory. So he was trying to explain that as much as he wants Nigeria to be a part of the African trade, he also doesn't believe that it's an opportunity for our neighboring countries to allow themselves to be used to dump goods in Nigeria. So that is the reason why he supported the government in the closure of the border, though he said it shouldn't be an indefinite border closure. At some point, we should reopen on the, as long as our neighboring countries agree to abide by the rules of trade.
All right, Moyo Thomas, do keep an eye on updates, even as it affects the calls for establishment of a Foreign Service Commission. Thanks for speaking to us.